renewal of mind and reconfiguration of our thoughts that we are able to position ourselves to receive all the blessings that God has set aside for us. For it is not us who are waiting for the blessing, but rather the blessing that is waiting for us to be in the right frame of mind to receive it. I hear a clarion call. It's time to rise and shine. Time to get what's mine.
Dai, family, and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways, family, and that you're moving into your own narrative, because it is your narrative that will act as a vehicle that will take you out of Babylon and into the new earth. There's no planes that will take you there. There's no buses that'll take you there. Everyone needs their own vehicle because the shift is mental. Once you shift what's happening in here, it's like all of a sudden your world, the old world disappears and a brand new world appears. Special shout out to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us on that platform. We do share more information that we're unable to share here, so definitely consider joining us there, family, for as little as $2 a month. And, if you're thinking of relocating to the motherland, check out our relocation service on Patreon, Karibu Nyumbani, where you can find all kinds of information on returning to the motherland. And I'll definitely be updating that this year now that we seem to be out of the COVID bubble, hopefully. But I really wanted to talk about, the importance, and this is a special message really for parents or people who are hoping to be parents one day. And especially if you're awakening, you already know that you're going to have some gifted children. It is so important, family, to supplement the education your children are receiving. If you can't homeschool, the best would be homeschool. And there's ways to do homeschool where you get the typical teacher who will make sure that, because I think now, like a lot of countries, even across the motherland, have put in place where even if you homeschool, your children still have to be able to sit for national exams of their age group and stuff like that. So what people will usually do is they'll get like a teacher from one of the schools to come and tutor them and a group of other children, maybe their friends or their family who have the same children in similar age. At least this is what started in COVID, and it's become a whole movement. And then they'll supplement that education with different things. And it is so important, family, that you have like a writing list for your family, for your children, that you try and create even like a pen pal situation where they're writing to some other school in Korea or wherever, that you just expand the mind of your child. Because right now, family, there's a whole dumbing down agenda, and it's been there for decades. But now is when we're really seeing it, like especially with this generation. And it's not just about spelling, and spelling, creating spells, whatever. But it's not just about their movement in the like English language or whatever language, but it's more about their understanding of reality. Like they don't know the basics about so many things. And it's like many of us, because education was the easiest thing, Babylon has kind of had people on this catch up, and that's how they've been able to win and to control so many people, because they have you always catching up. You need a job to pay your bills, so you can't take care of your children, so you have to send them to school. And you're even grateful that they're gone most of the day. But if you're leaving your education to your children, family, then there's going to be a problem. Sorry, a bird just entered my door. I didn't mean that. If you're leaving your education to the school system, that's what I meant. If you're leaving the education of your children to the school system, then you're going to lose your children. And the fear that I had, the vision that I had, is that they've dumbed down the children so much that they literally don't get it. Then they put them in the screens, which is literally shutting and shattering their pineal gland or their first eye. Because these are the children who have woken up, they're more sensitive, they're aligned with the new vibrations. And then you put this, which is the black mirror in front of them, which is so toxic. If you look at most ballers, most billionaires, their children will not hold a mobile phone or a tablet until they're well into their teens. It's the poor man who gives his child a computer. Seriously, the spiritually poor man at the age of 2 puts a mobile phone in his child's hand. those things that are transmitting like Wi-Fi and all this stuff. And so the children have been made weaker because now they're mentally weak. Like dumbing them down just means that, they're disconnected from their intuition. They're literally taught how to obey. They're taught all about the system and how to exist about the system, within the system. And here in the motherland family, because there's been such little change to the curriculum, people didn't know what to teach their children because they were always playing catch up. So the curriculums were even designed by Babylonians, who have the most limited knowledge among us. But what has happened on the motherland is this thing of international schools, family. So in countries like Kenya and Senegal and Ghana, you'll have a British system school, French system school, American system school. Here in Kenya, we have Swedish, we have Dutch, we have all these other foreign system schools. And what that does is a lot of the rich parents will send their children to those schools. But the worst are the British and the French system schools, which literally teach the children a superiority complex. Whereas the public system teaches the children how to obey, how to become good slaves, whether it's wage slaves or whatever, where you don't exercise your intuition, you don't tell the truth, you tell the people what they want to hear. Because exams is all about regurgitating the information you've been given. And the sad thing is, I think now in Kenya family, there's no more even like extracurricular. They've removed sports. So they're really just weakening the children physically and like mentally. And if your children are mentally weak, then that means everything else is mentally weak. They won't have the imagination, because another thing education does, the way the education system is set up now, is that it totally kills the creativity and the imagination of your child. But as I was talking about the international schools, please allow me to go back to that. So what happens is, like, a lot of these leaders, a lot of these ballers will send their children to international schools, which teach their children you're superior, whatever, and also create like a cognitive dissonance in the child, because it's like, you're superior because of your social context, but you start to recognize that things like slavery and colonialism, where people that looked like you were disenfranchised, and then you start to be almost embarrassed of those people, and this is how Oreos are made, this is how coconuts are made. They'd rather be with the rich, with their social status, than with their racial status, and they're totally disconnected from the people that look like them. And these now are groomed to be the future CEOs, future judges, future lead lawyers, future politicians, future presidents. Like, a lot of people were surprised when President Ruto said that, all his children have gone to public school, because we're going through a whole curriculum change right now, where they want to go into competency-based curriculum or something like that. And he was like, I'm a concerned parent, because my children are my daughter, I think his last daughter is still in the system or whatever. But a lot of our leaders' family were trained by the slave masters. So that's why Africa has always had this elitist problem. And even now, the elitists have been kept out of the loop of what's really going on. So long story short, you have to create systems and programs to boost your children's education. Whether it's creating like a home library where you have all these books, you can get the books online. PDF drive I can't remember if it's net or whatever, is your friend. Getting all kinds of books, getting story books that expand their imagination, all kinds of story books, all kinds of history books. Get them involved in nature, in gardening, and in managing chickens or whatever. Get them to have some kind of daily interaction with nature. This is the only way, family, that you'll prevent your child from becoming a robot. And I'm telling you, I just have this feeling that eventually they're going to start weaponizing people's children against them. Like, I feel like that started with our generation, or even maybe with our uncle's generation, where they were like, They started to look down on their mothers because their mothers were uneducated, or on their fathers because their fathers were uneducated. And instead of trying to incorporate that local knowledge, it's like they became superior, they moved to the city, and then all of a sudden they're the ones telling the family what to do. Whereas the family used to be able to heal itself with local herbs, now they'll take their mother or their father to the most expensive hospital, cut them open and all these things, when we have powers that's like low-level powers of healing. We have healing where you can heal someone. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into that. So family, part of protecting your children, actually everything about protecting your children is to protect their mind and to allow them to come into their full power without the interference of Babylon. And if you allow your children to be weaponized against you, because now they're going into all kinds of a whole different world, where literally a lot of them will be living, if you don't prevent this, in the metaverse, more than in reality. That's where we're moving to. Where now it's so common to see people, families at dinner and the children have their phones, everyone has their phones, no one's interacting. Or they're even interacting through their phones at the table. Like, these are dangerous things, family. But you can arrest them now by shifting, and you also have to shift your own life first. Make sure that you're also spending time in nature. You're also creating a reading culture, or recreating a reading culture in yourself. Because the reading works a whole other part of your mind, even though they've made it, we're not supposed to read this way to this way, we're supposed to read this way to this way, because here our imagination is involved, whereas here it's literally programming, stories for the days. That's why the Quran is written this way, anti-clockwise, so that because then it's an activation of your soul. Hey, let me not get into that. But family, please. And you can do this with a group of, there's so many awakened ones who are looking for solutions to education for their children. So you can do this. Don't get lazy when it comes to the education of your children, what they're learning in their schools. Smaller is better at this point. There are different things that are bubbling up, different education systems like the Montessori system, which was huge here in Kenya. Like things that were the Waldorf system, which concentrate more on building the creative side of your child for like the first 7-8 years when they're most malleable. Things like that, family. Because if you allow the machines to have such a huge control over your children's time, over their lives, over their thinking, one day those children will be more loyal to the machines than they are to you. And we've been seeing those stories recently of how, there was one where I think a mother took an 18-year-old son's phone or something like that, and or a 16-year-old, he trashed her house, broke every table, gutted the chairs, glass, cookers, everything everywhere. Because these things are mind control. And they're not just innocent things that are educating your children. They're actually mind controlling them. The cartoons and everything, family, when you sit and you watch the cartoons with this eye, you'll be like, damn. You'll even want to go to just the old ones we used to watch, like the Flintstones and stuff like that, before they got heavy into this mind control. Make sure that you're just giving your children just a wide, varied experience. And if your children don't have access to sports anymore, find those extracurricular where you can take them to do sports, to do camping, to do all that thing. Interact with nature as much as possible. Thank you so much for everyone that always comments and leaves such valuable comments. Please share anything else that has worked for you, family. These are such a critical time for us because we have to transition with our children before the consciousness communities that are emerging now have built their own schools. So you're going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting yourself. But eventually those conscious schools will be there, they'll be there. But they're not there now, family. Sorry, I'm just because I'm so this is something I'm really passionate about. They're not there now, family. They will be there soon. But in this transition period, do what you need to do, family. That's my cue. To protect your children's minds. Tuko pamoja.
I hear a clarion call. It's time to rise and shine. Time to get what's mine. Yeah. And I want it all. the riches of the world to the promises of God for